Welcome to another episode of the Aussie Game Podcast, where we talk all things Australian football. And what another big week it's been in Australian football. Plenty happening. As always, heaps happening on the local front with the A-Leagues kicking off. The Australian Championship continues. Overseas, plenty of our Aussies in action. Of course, the Socceroos were in action as well during the week. So lots for us to get through tonight. Here to help me go through all that is Mopper. How are you, mate?
Yeah, good. Welcome, everyone. And cracking week. So don't blink. There's that many stories to go through tonight. So we better get straight into it with the biggest story of the probably week so far.
Yeah, and it's only come about this morning with Ange Postecoglou being sacked by Nottingham Forest. Pretty brutal when you think of the amount of time that he had there to input his thoughts and his theories on the team, given their commitments, through games, and he was sacked after the Chelsea loss this morning when they went down 3-0, only 17 minutes after full time. The announcement from Nottingham Forest came out. So what did you think initially, mate?
Well, I had the opportunity to watch the game, and the first half, Notts Forest dominated the game. They had multiple chances, probably should have been in front, but just the mentality wasn't right with Notts Forest. And you can see with everything that's going on, the impact on the players, you could see it on the pitch. The effort was there, the creativity was there, but just when it needed to be mentally 100%, it wasn't there. And I think all the distractions just caught up and put too much pressure on the players. And when they had those opportunities, what they probably should have nailed, they possibly could have been 3-4-0 up against Chelsea. Chelsea was so poor in the first half. It's a tale of two halves. But when Chelsea obviously made the changes at halftime, brought on 3 key substitutions, and they looked hot from the first second in the second half, and they were just too strong with the ball. Casado coming on, and they just controlled midfield. And Notts Forest were a bit whimper in the second half, and you've seen the reaction of the owner and everything that unfolded after it. It's disappointing news the way it's been done and conducted, but it's something that's been very familiar with Notts Forest, I think, not only through Nuno, but through last year's actions as well, as this club tries to find what they're trying to look for. But professionally, I don't think they handled it very well. But again, I'm not being biased because he's an Australian coach, but unfortunately, we've lost him again to another club, and we don't have that pioneer in the Premier League, which we crave. But he's got some big questions and answers for Ange after this, where he goes and what he does from here.
I think that's the part that I found hard to swallow with Forest carving out those chances, and really the chances were on the back of the pressure that they're able to put on Chelsea in that front third for Forest, and that's obviously what Ange's philosophy is mapped around. And I just couldn't help but think that those chances go in, and it's the same story. They could have killed the game off against Swansea in the Carabao Cup. They could have killed the game off against Real Betis in the Europa League. So I'm not really sure what Ange is supposed to do. He sets his teams up for success, and it's up to the players at some point to put the ball in the back of the net. So really tough time for Ange. He didn't win any of his 8 matches in charge since he took over from Nuno in September. Yeah, I think it's a really tough situation for him to face, and a lot of people saying that it wasn't the best decision for him to go into that Forest job. Do you think, in hindsight, that it was the right thing for him to do?
Look, there's risk and reward in football. You could have said that going into Tottenham with no Harry Kane, he was going to be sold. He must have known that when he took over the job. And with all Spurs' problems where they finished at 8th, do you take that as a risk? It's risk or reward. And he wanted to get back in the Premier League, and there was the first opportunity. Notts Forest obviously put the hand out, and you can't knock these opportunities back because you may not get another opportunity. How do you know that any other club's going to come for you? So the challenge was like the instability of where the club was at. And I think we underestimate Notts Forest, probably thinking that they're this club saying they want to challenge for trophies and big trophies. But the reality is, you've got to look at the history of this club. The last 5 games of last year, They only won one. If you go back, they haven't had a clean sheet since April the 2nd against Man U, where they beat them 1-0. So that's like 5 months, 6 months. It's more than just in the moment for Ange. And I know I'm going away a little bit from the question, but if you have a look at the way they conduct themselves, the owner on the pitch, the last 2 weeks, it's supposed to be about World Cup qualifiers, and all we heard was, "Oh, I'm going to get this coach, and this is what's happening." It was almost like it was preempted. And no matter what the result was, even if he would have won yesterday, I don't see that timeline going any further. I don't think he would have escaped this clause from Forest, because I just think they're bigger than what they are. They finished 16th and 17th in the last 2 years of the Premier League, nearly got relegated. They were in the Championship for 14 years, League One 3 years before that. They come seventh, and you would have seen a lot of mid-table clubs and lower clubs go up last year, but the reality was last year there was 10 teams playing in Europe, but week in, week out. So those teams had the opportunity to grow and go up the table, and they got confidence out. And Nuno did a good job. But again, if I look at the last 11 games he coached, he only won 3 games. So the history was already lining up there, that there was bigger problems than just that. The transfer market, 21 players in. You just made Europe. You've got 21 players in. Okay, 9 come back from loan, but another 12 on that. It was like a Chelsea model, and were they the right
Forest
ones?
Have done that. Forest have done that as well the last couple of years. They've brought in stacks of players, so this just
Chaos.
seems to be the way to do it. Yeah,
And 22 out as well. Like how the continuity. Like again, Edu and the owner, and we've all seen it, that you could see the fractions with Nuno, why he was so frustrated, and it was just a time bomb. And someone had to come in the middle of that, and obviously again had to deal with all those situations. And again, Ange's way, pragmatic, whatever you want to be. The reality is he tried to go through his own approach, but again, the club's so unstable, and it's not a club that should be saying we should be competing for trophies. They should be saying we're trying to build a squad to further develop. But unfortunately, they've got this mindset to think that they're on another level. And there's just the Premier League's cutthroat. There's so many bigger, better teams and clubs that show much more stability than what's not Forest show. And I really think that mindset across from the owner and Edu and down is just so fractured. And God help whoever's going to come into that mess, because realistically, they're in the relegation zone now, and how do you get out of that? It's impacted the players. Look at the 3 or 4. They would have finished those ones without all that undue pressure. They would have finished those chances, but the pressure's coming from in their own club. And what are they supposed to do? They've gone through all that scenario that I've just explained, and you want them to go out and perform at their best? That is not an environment that players will go out and play at their best.
no, it's certainly not. And yeah, they're very. When you do look at the fact that they did have a really good season last year, but so many things went their way. So many 1-goal wins. Chris Wood bagging a whole heap of goals. So he's been a pretty consistent striker across his career, but that wasn't really an anomaly. And a few of their players, the way they were playing. So yeah. I think for the clubs it's fine to be ambitious, but they've got to be realistic as well with where they're at. It's one season and they want to keep building, but sometimes the building is with some stability as a manager. So if you can't get past your difficulties with even a Nuno, or you can't give Ange more time to implement his philosophy, well, I'm not sure that's going to be the case for us.
Look, hindsight says bad decision, but hindsight says if the Premier League knocks on your door, you're not going to knock it back. You're confident enough he's been there, done that he can win things. So he's not going to think he can't do the same. It's just, again, that mess that was in the middle. I don't think it was a bad decision, but it would have been a very difficult role to play, and he's only going to have to learn of it. We've seen many big coaches and top coaches get sacked for a number of reasons, no matter what the situation is. So does this put a dent in Ange's resume? Maybe a small one, but I think everybody knows what's going on with Forest and where the real problem lies.
Yeah, I think maybe his Premier League reputation has taken a hit, but he'll land on his feet, no doubt. And we'll see where he lands next. Probably good to take a little bit of time off now and reflect and maybe look at something on the continent or away from England as his
Well,
next job.
what do you think? What's next for Ange? That's the big question.
Well, I mean, I think probably away from the Premier League. I'm not sure that given how his two last spells have ended, that there'll be that many Premier League clubs coming and knocking. Maybe some of the ones toward the bottom of the table, but are they going to even buy into Ange's style when he's going to be wanting to play beautiful football and they're just going to want to scrap? I'm not sure that he's the type of manager that they're going to want either. So probably something on the continent or maybe even in an international job or who knows? Like, you look at Greece, for example, like they've just been eliminated from World Cup qualification or qualifying. So who knows? It could be an opportunity there but I think probably away from the Premier League is probably best for him just to reset a little bit and then potentially come back in a few years' time.
Well, we wish him well, and look, his history speaks for himself, and he's done a fantastic job. What a pioneer for Australian football. Unfortunately, things haven't worked out here, but again, he leaves England Premier League, and I'm sure he's not going to miss that media over there. That's for sure.
No, I agree with that. Another big story that came through overnight was Noah Botic scoring a double for Austria Vienna, putting Tony Popovic on notice. Also a player of the match performance in their 3-2 win. So Botic was included in the squad for the New Zealand series, but left out for D'Agostino and Mitch Duke for the most recent international window. So certainly a striker in some really good form, mate, and no doubt that Popovic would be thinking about calling him up for the November window if he can keep up this form.
Yeah, well, look, he started pre-season over there. He was, a great in the A-League for Western United last season. He just had to find his feet, didn't he? And he was obviously that sub or that impact player for Austria Vienna. But the last few weeks, the difference is when we were a bit concerned when he come back from that window that he wasn't starting. But as soon as he come back, he's been starting every week. And like you said, he scored three and three now. And, his side's won 4 out of 5 with him starting in the lineup. So, what a fantastic time he'd be thriving at the moment, confidence-wise, because I think he's done the hard yards with, when you move over, it's difficult to start straight off the bat, isn't it, when you're overseas and you've got to adapt to the different team and style. And look, in the game, Botic won. You've got some stats here. He won 1 in 10 aerial duels and one of his 4 ground duels. Does this suggest he's that type of player that Popovic's system? Absolutely. I think he's a growing lad, and we've seen him in the under 23s and the junior teams of the Socceroos and Joeys. It's just a matter of time when he breaks through, and I think Popper rewarded him against New Zealand to have a look at him, and I don't think it'll be, whether it's November or the window after that, I'm sure he'll be on the cusps of World Cup selection. It's just a matter of how he progresses in the next 6 to 8 months.
Yeah, it's interesting that looking at the type of profile that he had in that last window with he obviously started D'Agostino in the second game, but then had Mo Toure and Duke in there as well. So most of them are probably big, like combative. Boric is probably more of a kind of off the shoulder playing alongside a bigger player like that to run in behind. But yeah, I just wonder if he can play out and out. He looks like he is playing out and out for Austria Vienna, but if they're playing more like a 4-2-3-1 and there's players around him, that's going to obviously be better suited. But I just wonder if he could play as a bit of an isolated striker in that system for Popovic.
Well, that fringe, those last few spots is definitely open, and I believe the backup to Toure and Irukunda is definitely there. I think it's just who he finds is right that can handle the pressure. So we know what a talent he is, and I think it's just head down, bum up at Austria Vienna and just do what he's doing right now. And if he can maintain that, I think his form will give him that opportunity. So I think like all those strikers out there, the positions, Sapsford, Sigurcic, they're all in good form at the moment, which is fantastic competition for our Socceroos side.
All right, mate. We're going to whip through a bit of the overseas action overnight, but firstly, you're going to take us through some midweek action because a few of our Matildas and up-and-coming Matildas had a busy schedule.
Yeah, we'll just have a quick early recap after we recorded last week, and a bit of English Women's Super League first. We had Aston Villa and Leicester 0-0. Emily Van Egmont started for the Foxes and played 63 minutes. Our other Aussies, London City versus West Ham, also played earlier on the week. City getting crucial 3 points with a 1-0 victory, which seen Kennedy play 24 minutes off the bench for City, and Hammers Gorry started for the Hammers and had a full game, picking up a yellow card. Let's look at the other side. We've got another Aussie contest, seen Arsenal edge Brighton in a very tight contest, edging them 1-0 with an own goal, deciding that game in the 15th minute, leaving Dario Vidosic's Brighton 7th on 7 points. In the game, we also seen Aussie Charlie Rule play a full game, which she continues to go well, and she'll be right on the cusp of the Matildas side, no doubt. A full game, she continues to contribute and cementing her spot in the side, which is really good for Brighton. She's only 22 and is definitely knocking on the door for the Matildas. I think a full season, she had a horror injury season last year. Our Aussie contingent in the Arsenal side, Steph Catley masters defence with a full game and a clean sheet. Caitlin Ford gets another start and plays 89 minutes. And Cooney Cross seen more minutes off the bench again with an impressive display. Her 26-minute cameo highlighted on the X in the Aussie game. Also seen Riley say that calling out for Cooney Cross to play more minutes, which I thought was
He's a big fan.
Massive fan. So it was great to see. Great to see all 5 Aussies show their talent on the Women's Super League. Obviously, they didn't have the international window. It was just the men's. That lifts Arsenal to 5th place now after a bit of a slow start on 11 points, 5 behind leaders Chelsea. We move over to Chelsea now. They had a 1-0 win over Tottenham. Very tight contest there as well, and another game full of Matildas. Seen Ellie Carpenter play 89 minutes early in the week, but she was missing during the week in their Champions League game. She had another great performance, and Sam Kerr adds another 12 minutes and continues to build her game. On the Tottenham side, we see Matilda Claire Hunt always performs well with another full game, and Charlie Grant comes on late for a few minutes game time. We'll go over to Serie A with the Italy. The comeback queens, Roma, beat AC Milan 2-1 with 2 late goals. Matilda Werner Heatley played a full game and stayed undefeated. They're 2 from 2 for Roma and also juggling Champions League. In the Bundesliga, the Fräuleins, Russo got on late, 3-2 loss against Freiburg. Frankfurt maintained 7th and have 3 wins and 3 losses. So Russo obviously only getting limited time for Frankfurt, but as their side's a bit inconsistent at the moment with only 3 wins. Jamila Rankin from Hoffenheim, they unfortunately go down 2-0. They played Leverkusen, they were very strong. Rankin started and played 70 minutes, but maintained 5th in the Bundesliga, so still a solid start. We go down to the Bundesliga 2. Alana Murphy starts for FC Sand in a 1-1 draw, but keeps them top of the table, and they play tonight as well. They're on the verge, this Matilda's 20-year-old Alana Murphy, and she's starting to start in the last few weeks, which is a very good sign. Back to Serie A, and we've seen Sassuolo go down 2-1 to Parma. Jess Nash played a full game, and Jacinta Galabracci come off the bench for a small cameo. So that was a little bit of a wrap from early on the week before.
Thanks, mate. Let's go to Friday night, England time, Saturday morning our time. Early kickoff for the championship with Middlesbrough. Sammy Silvera got some late minutes, but probably the headline in terms of an Aussie perspective was the fact that Riley McGree was back on the bench after his injury layoff, and we know that Burroughs nursing him back to health, just taking a cautious approach. But they had a good win, 2-1 over Ipswich. It did have them top of the championship for 24 hours until Coventry won, but Middlesbrough certainly going along very well just at the moment. Not so good news over at Millwall. Mas Luongo stretched it off after just 15 minutes with fears he may have ruptured his cruciate ligament. So absolutely devastating news for Mas Luongo. He was in some really good form. Plenty of people talking about him as a potential bolter for the World Cup squad as well, but it doesn't look like that is going to come about at all. So, yeah, we wish Mass all the best in his recovery, and hopefully it's not as bad as first thought. But on the QPR side, none of our Aussie boys even made the bench for QPR, which was very disappointing. So we'll keep track of those boys, and they're all young, but hopefully they keep moving forward at QPR. Over at Swansea, Cam Burgess, fresh on the back of Socceroos duty, He kept a clean sheet in Swansea's 0-0 draw with Southampton. Lewis Miller, they went down 2-0 to Coventry. As I said before, Coventry top of the league, so probably a pretty expected result with Blackburn struggling a bit in the championship this season. Nestori Nkunda unfortunately couldn't find the net for Watford, but watching the highlights back, he laid on a couple of great chances for his teammates that were wasted, but then they paid the price. They went down to Sheffield United, who were struggling down the bottom of the ladder. So disappointing result for Watford after their change of manager. And then over at Pompey, 9 minutes off the bench for Adrian Segicic. Hayden Matthews was an unused sub. Thomas Waddingham obviously out with that long-term injury. I'm not sure what's happening with Jacob Farrell. Assume he's just not being included in the matchday squads. And then the action in League One, unfortunately, Joe Gauchi's Port Vale, they went down 1-0 to Wigan. Do you want to take us through Scotland, mate?
Absolutely, and the news is still hot on Kevin Muscat. It looks like a sealed deal, but obviously still negotiating as Kevin Muscat's fighting out the title in the Chinese Super League. But if you are a Rangers fan, you again had a disappointing night 2-2 last night. So let's start with our Aussies though in Hearts. Hearts extend their lead at the top of the Scottish Premiership with a 3-0 win over Kilmarnock. Cam Devlin was at the heart of things again with the most chances created and the most completed passes. And that's really good sign that I see most chances created because normally he's a defensive midfielder. So that's great that he's doing both ends of the pitch. His return from his time Socceroos, no doubt, super pumped. They're 13 points clear of Rangers. Can you believe it?
Amazing.
Wow.
That's amazing.
I just can't believe it. But anyway, maybe Muscat, if he does sign and seal, he's going to have some work to do. Over at Hibs and Livingston, so big 4-0 win for Hibs, moving them to third in Scotland. Jack Iredale played the full 90 minutes, which was good. Martin Ball come off the bench for 18 minutes, obviously, after starting against America. Motherwell, disappointing 2-1 loss for Motherwell over Falkirk. Johnny Koutroupas played 84 minutes from the start, while Stamatopoulos got 27 minutes off the bench, and Oscar Priestman also got 6 minutes off the bench, but disappointing loss there in day for Motherwell. Dundee United, Zach Sabsford provides an assist as Dundee United hold Rangers to a 2-2 draw. Ryan Strain is also brought on late, which is good because he haven't had much time there lately, so good to see Sapsford too, still pressing claims and obviously still in form with an assist.
Even Strain as well, like maybe a right back option there. We haven't locked down those positions, even though Italiano did perform very well. But I think it's probably a bit open, that spot.
Absolutely, definitely agree with you there, and they're interesting. Again, November window's not that far away. St Mirren versus Aberdeen. Back as St Mirren unfortunately conceded a last-minute goal to lose 1-0 to Aberdeen. No Aussies unfortunately made the field for Aberdeen as they've been struggling this year. Okay, Chief, over to Netherlands and Eredivisie.
Yep, the Ironman Maximilian Ballard plays 90 minutes in NAC Breda's 2-2 draw. He was the most fouled player. Had the best passing accuracy. So, yeah, plenty of minutes for the Socceroos, but straight back at it for NAC Breda for the Ironman. Dropping down in division in the Netherlands, some really great stories coming out from the Eerste Divisie. Cam Pupion's ADO Den Haag. They are 1 point clear at the top of the table with 2 games in hand. Pupion played 84 minutes in his side's 3-0 win. So they're absolutely flying. And not far behind them, Josh Nisbet's Rota JC. So Nisbet played 90 minutes and got an assist in their 6-0 win. So they're up to 4th. So the boys are absolutely flying there. And the Netherlands, hopefully we're looking at both of them getting promoted to the Eredivisie next season. That would be fantastic. And then, of course, Jacob Italiano, who played really well for the Socceroos, getting his opportunity straight away backed up for Grazer AK, playing 82 minutes. They played out a 0-0 draw with Hartberg. Still yet to get a win this season, though, mate. They're just no luck at all. It seems like Italiano was doing really, really well, but obviously can't find the back of the net and can't jag the first win. So they're in a lot of trouble, but no doubt if Italiano keeps up his form, he might be able to get a move if they get relegated.
All right. And China, Chief, hearts in mouth stuff over there on Friday night.
Oh, mate.
Kevin Muscat, Shanghai Port, 2 points clear. Shendo actually played an hour and a half after them, but with 3 games to go, they still lead by 2 points after a 4-3 win on Friday night against a lowly opposition. And I tell you what, Muscat at halftime, I think he might have been throwing the hairdryer because his team was all over the place until they sealed it in the second half and even let in a late goal just for a
Yeah.
late scare. So,
Oh,
but good news, Kevin Muscat's side still on top. As I said, Rangers and I got no doubt are negotiating because obviously he wants to be part of these 3 games as part of it. But as it goes along, I think if they really want him, they're going to have to let him see out those last 3 games and hopefully retain the Chinese Super League.
maybe get it done early so he gets to leave early.
Well, I don't know. This Shendo is not giving up, so it's going to be some exciting games coming up in the Chinese Super League.
All right, let's go to the US to finish off our overseas wrap because it's the last round of the MLS before they start their playoffs. DC United, Kai Rolls, his team are going to be nowhere near the playoffs, but he played 90 minutes, completed the most passes in their 1-1 draw with Atlanta United. So, Tom, put your feet up, Kai, and have a rest because, yeah, been a shocking season for DC United. One player that is going to be part of the playoffs, Patrick Yazbek. His Nashville, unfortunately, went down 5-2 into Miami with Yazbek playing 73 minutes, but they're well and truly in that playoff mix. So I assume the playoffs probably just start next weekend. Plenty of our Aussies are involved in that. We've got Charlotte, we've got New York City FC. I think Real Salt Lake is still a chance of sneaking in as well. So, yeah, plenty of others in the mix there that we can track over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, Charlotte had a
playoff.
2-0 win too this morning, Chief, and Archie Goodwin only got a couple of minutes off the bench.
Yeah, but yeah, plenty of our Aussies to track there still in the MLS. So hopefully one of the teams can go all the way and take it all out, but we'll bring all that to you in the coming weeks. All right, mate, that's going to do us for our overseas wrap. In part 2, we're going to talk about the Socceroos, and we're also going to touch on the Matildas for their upcoming games against Wales and England. If you like our content, why not give us a follow on the socials where we provide lots of updates between podcast episodes. We're most active on Instagram, BlueSky, and X. So search the Aussie Game and you should be able to find us. All right, let's get back into it. All right, we're back to part 2. We're going to start this section off talking about the Socceroos. Their latest game against the USA. Unfortunately, we went down 2-1, which was a pretty tough contest against the US. We weren't at our best, but I think we also found that we didn't get away with as much as we did against Canada. Jordy Boss opened the scoring for the Socceroos with a little weaving run, got a little bit of luck on the way, but then finished absolutely superbly. But then the USA hit back twice and probably could have scored a couple more, although Matty Ryan wasn't called into action too much, or probably more wasteful than anything. But I think we probably learned a lot from that experience, learned what we can and can't do and what we can get away with. But what did you make of the game, mate?
Yeah, look, I thought it was a pretty even contest. Look, really only America showed us in possession and passing accuracy. If you look at the game, big moments, I think they were pretty even. They had their big moments, we had our big moments. They finished theirs. We didn't finish off our second half big moments, and that's probably all the difference of the game was. Papa said in the press conference he was thought we played better against America than Canada. He did talk a lot about the conditions. I think he would have learned a lot again playing these nations, but I didn't think America was that crash hot. They played a very patient game. They played a lot of ball backwards, but that was just to control the tempo of the game and possession. And it's something I still think the Socceroos, as they emerge in this next lot of 12 months, that we have to get better at, because I think when we went up 1-0, you're going to be able to control a bit of the tempo. But again, I thought the first 20 minutes we pressed. I thought we owned the first 20 minutes actually, and our chance was well taken by Jordy Boss. We all know what level he's at the moment and how well he's progressing. But the first 20 minutes we owned, but then again we fell back, obviously with the 1-0 lead too deep. And again, our ball use and through the press and transition again wasn't good enough. With our possession was only 35%, and our pass accuracy was low again at 77. So still we can't get over that 80%, which is still our opportunity. But overall, I think Popper would have been happy. And the second half, Irukunda still had a great chance. Metcalf had a great chance. So I think the big moments were there for us. It's just I think on opposite side, Canada never punished us for the chances they created. America had probably less chances than Canada, but were clinical. And the same thing probably troubled our back three, back five, which was pace. Buchanan was there, tearing us apart, and over on the left-hand side against Canada, they were tearing us apart a bit. And I think the two American strikers did exactly that to us. And you've seen the difference between a little bit more clinical finishing, I think, made the difference in the game.
Yeah, and I think something that did come out of it, which is such a positive thing, and we spoke about this after the Canada game and what a difference Geordie Boss made when he came on. But he is pushing up into that really world class status now, isn't he? Because he's just absolutely on fire. You can play him. The he's got speed, he's got strength, he's got skill. He reads the game well. He's such a handful going forward, but then he's got an engine to be able to get back. We have got an absolute star player on our hands in Geordie Boss, haven't we?
Oh, absolutely. But him coming back from injury and going to Feyenoord, what a great move. And they've been managing him. They haven't been playing him consecutive because they're in Europe as well, and they've managed his time, and he's really been well balanced when he's come up. He's really going to that elite level, and hopefully we keep progressing in that right direction. His body stays fit. I did want to too shout out Mitch Duke. Congratulations, 50 caps for Australia. Super job. Come on again in the second half. So congratulations, Mitch Duke. A really great achievement for Mitch. He's 34 years of age now, and he's been a stalwart over the Socceroos, providing so much press and energy and good leadership, I believe, in the Socceroos, and in a difficult time of transition too. When Graham Arnold first took over, so he really relied on Mitch Duke to provide that front line press. So well done to Mitch Duke. And I think congratulations to Socceroos. Nearly 12 months now undefeated. This is our first loss. We've progressed a long way in the last 12 months, and it had to come to a time where if you give an opposition so many touches and so many possession, it's going to tell at some point, and just told with a little bit of clinicalness from USA. But we matched them all over the park, and they're not a nation I fear. We definitely can beat them if we played our best on the day.
I think we both agree on Jacob Italiano, him coming in, and he didn't let the team down at all. In fact, he was quite good across both the games against Canada and the USA. I just wanted to get your thoughts on two of the other starters that came into the team that were surprise selections in Jason Guerrier and Nick D'Agostino. We did pop up a poll during the week, and pretty much it came back that those two didn't really stand out in many people's eyes. Do you think that was a test for them, and how do you think they came up against that test if it was?
Oh, look, I think D'Agostino, Popovic talked about him, actually praised him in the press conference for his effort and his attitude. So congratulations to D'Agostino coming back in the Socceroos side. I think he found it difficult to hold the ball up. And I think when we broke in that first half, him and Boyle struggled to, they were beaten by pace at the back from America, who were very strong and fast and physical. I still think he showed lots of energy, lots of enthusiasm. And I think, it's a good pass mark for me. But if you look at some of his first touches and ability to connect, we really didn't connect very well at the front. But all honestly, don't forget too, he was playing against players he probably hadn't played with before, and Boyle and Metcalf, and Metcalf's obviously provided got a real good connection with Toure and Irukunda, so it was always going to be difficult. And again, another step up in the nation and in America, highly ranked. And again, D'Agostino hasn't had much football either, so maybe that's why I think his touch just needs to be elite, but it's just something he could probably work on. But like I said, and Popovic said he hasn't had much game time. So I think a pass, but I think there's other strikers there that are much better in form. But again, Popovic probably brought him in just to say, where are you at? But he was the one of the strikers that actually got an opportunity to showcase, while the others, probably Bodicic and Sigicic, didn't have that opportunity. So interesting thought process with Popper, I think, there. And obviously, Guerrier, look, Guerrier struggled with the ball at his feet, under the press again. limited game time. It just wasn't sharp enough for me. I know defensively he's fine, but they did target us down that left-hand side, right-hand side of our defence, and did get through a few times, but without obviously conceding. We conceded on the other side, but yeah, look, if he's not a ball player, didn't play very sharply with the ball and turned the ball over a few times for me. And, was that lack of game time again? Probably a good time to test him out. But again, I think he's still on the fringes for me. Few people have got him in, I know, and probably like his style. But to me, I think there's stronger options. But yeah, Guerrier to me just lost the ball too much at the back playing out.
One thing that playing a different option, that right centre back, did give us a look at Alessandro Siccardi in that middle as well. We know what a class player he is as well. So I thought he went quite well in that position for being such a young player, being able to organise that defence. Obviously, you got someone like Cam Burgess next to him, and obviously Jason Guerrier as well comes in with a whole lot of experience. But I think it's another opportunity to have a look at something different in that sense, just in case there is a chance that, say Deganek is injured or he drops his form or something, just have a look at something different. I think we both agree we would have liked to see Hayden Matthews get a look in the squad. What do you make of Alex Robertson not even making the team sheet in both of those games?
Again, it's I don't understand why I get Popper's reasons. He wants to camp, he wants to have a look at him, wants to reintegrate. I get all that, but again, if they're friendlies, yeah, and I just don't understand why we just don't see little cameos. But maybe that's just my thought process. I don't see the point of bringing him camp and having a look. I get to a very small point, but under games is where we want to see players. But I don't think he was fit enough anyway. Like he's just come back, but I would have loved to seen him a little bit, but we've seen that through Popper's decision making that he brings these guys, probably the fringe players, right on the edge. Just go, I want you involved in my camp. You're in my consideration, but you're not going to play. But again, not being in on the bench,
Yeah.
I guess. Look, I look at it different. I think if you're going to bring players along, play them. But anyway, you just don't get enough opportunities to see him. But I do note that he's been out for a long time and probably didn't even deserve to probably be in the squad, to be honest. But again, Popper wanted to just branch out and say, I've still got you in my consideration, no doubt.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. And even think of someone like Cam Devlin, who, what would be the harm in giving him 10 minutes off the bench or even 5 against the USA or something? But just to have a proper look at him in a match environment. And, obviously with Jacob Italiano, he apparently trained the house down, which was the reason that he got a look in. So potentially the others are coming in and not, I am speculating, but potentially the others are coming in and not exactly impressing Popovic, and that's why they're not being looked at. But I guess it'll all come about either in the November window or as we get closer to selection for that World Cup. So that's exciting. Obviously, Matty Ryan came in for Paul Izzo as well. So no clearer on our number one keeper, I suppose. Matty Ryan wasn't at fault for either of the goals, made some good saves as well. So he's another keeper in top form at the moment.
Oh, absolutely. And we're just blessed to have all three in form at the right time. And I think we all know these guys are a lock at goalkeepers. So I think he'll continue to rotate them and have a look at probably even maybe Gauci in November or bring back Izzo. So I think all three are enjoying the competition.
One thing I do want to get your thoughts on was that later on in the game, I think probably a couple of minutes to go, when Mitch Duke came on, we were playing two strikers. Is that something that he's just wants to have a look at? He's been not fairly, he has been really set in his 5-2-2-1, whichever way you want to look at his formation, but throwing on that second striker. I thought if we are going to actually have a proper look at it, he would have given it a few more minutes than just a couple. But if we are in a situation in a World Cup when we're chasing the game, obviously that's something that he's going to have a look at.
Oh, look, we're going to be in that situation. There's no doubt that we're going to go through this World Cup, and there's going to be moments where we're going to need to adapt and change, because obviously, if we go the World Cup and again give higher rated teams too much possession or too many chances in our opposition half, we're going to be under a lot of pressure. They're not going to not miss an opportunity. the higher you go up, the more clinical they're going to be. So of course we're going to be, if we can hang on, that's great and kind of counter attack, but it just has to happen. And no doubt, yeah, I agree that maybe a little bit more time, but at least we know in his foresight that he has got this option that he's willing to do. Because realistically, 4-2-3-1 probably, if you look at the players that we've got, probably suits us better. But obviously, he doesn't want to lose that three at the back. So I I think 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3 or the second striker up front is a great option because we've got the players to play it. And I just think we're just because of that first 12 months of solidity and continuity is confident in that three at the back system. But again, one of the teams are going to take opportunities against us if we give them that chance. So it's just good to see it's in his mindset that he can adapt and he is adaptable, which I think he always was. It's just he's never been in a situation to actually use it.
Yeah, fair point. All right, well, let's look ahead. So November window, lots of talk, probably rumours more than anything that there's going to be A-League players picked in this November window. We don't have any fixtures as of yet, but no doubt that's going to come out pretty quickly because that November window is coming up fast. But obviously, with the A-League kicking off this weekend, it does give those players the opportunity to throw their worth if that is what Popovic is thinking. But I believe this is going to be the last international window that we get before his squad needs to be picked. So it's going to be a very, very interesting one, whether it's players in camp or whether he's already made up his mind. We discussed the other day, mate, of we think there's probably about 19 or 20 of the 26 that are already locked in, and that doesn't even include some of those players coming back from injury, say like McGree, Irvine, Suter. So, yeah, we think based on his previous squads that there's some names there that are already on the plane to the North America.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just give you a few little points on his interview after the game. So post-match, he said it was a better performance against USA than Canada, even though the result was different. He said certain areas of our game that are evolving in our press and other areas we can match it with good sides, man or learning to obviously just compete in those big moments. The subs did make an impact, which I was surprised that he said, but in his eyes, the subs did make the impact that he hoped. The conditions showed obviously played a part in that. He said we showed glimpses, and this is all testing for him. You know what I mean? He kept going on about the testing part. And he said that about November's window. What do you want? Do you want to look at where we are now? So we're currently 25th still, all right? And you've still got the same sides there, Austria, Korea, Ecuador, still just above us. But he said we're fortunate to be in this calculations due to our form in the last 12 months. Because he goes, no one would even be talking about pot two when 12 months ago because we were so low in pot three. We're at the bottom of pot three, but now we're looking at nearly pot two. So he goes, it's just a blessing of the way results have gone our way and we've played. So that's a good sign. But he said in November, he doesn't want a game just to get points. He wants to be tested because he needs to be tested and it's the most important thing for him. And he prefers a test and he wants to be challenged. The ranking points, like I said, we've created this for our results. We've had we're low in pot three, and our focus, what no one was even looking at it. So 12 months ago, he goes, if we get pot two, we get pot two. If we don't, we don't. Plans for November, there are options, but they're not in place at the moment. We should know this week, he said. So probably any time this week we will know. The difference in the game was our finishing, but when you play against quality, you get punished in moments. He did put notes. Boss and Italiano praised them, and he praised Nico Agostino for his attitude and how he conducted himself due to having no football. So that was Popper's rap. So we should know in November what he's looking for. But he's had a good look in the last 12 months. So I said, and he's branched wide, and you've seen a number of players with lots of opportunities. And you're probably right. There are probably 6-8 players have still got the opportunity. McGree's back on the bench for Borough, and Jackson Irvine's not like a week off. So it'll be a great time to see where they're at, even though they might not make November, but they're definitely on their way back and returning.
Yep. So it's exciting that we're going to see another window in the next couple of weeks. And we look forward to that fixture being announced sooner rather than later. Let's turn our attention, mate, to the Matildas because they're coming up with some international fixtures against Wales and against England. Let's have a look at some of the players, their club form over the last couple of days. Let's start in the USA and recently recalled Matilda Courtney Vine. She got 12 minutes off the bench in North Carolina's 4-1 win, keeping their slim playoff hopes alive with one game to go. Good to see Courtney Vine back in the Matildas system. It has been a long time out due to some various reasons, some injuries, some personal, but just good to see her back in that mix because when she's on top form, she offers something a bit different to the Matildas.
Yeah, and hasn't played too much football, but I reckon Joe's had discussions and, kept the olive branch out there, and I think she's ready to come back in and will probably be a good boost for her confidence. And Joe probably wants to have a look at her before the Asia Cup. This is really our only chance.
All right, and let's look at Italy next. Winona Heatley, she had a rough day as her Roma lost 4-0 to Barcelona in the Women's Champions League. Tough start for Roma, coming up against Real Madrid and then Barcelona in their first two games. But what an initiation for Heatley, and what an experience that is for her to play against some of those superstars of the world.
Absolutely, and we said Roman's top of the Serie A, 2 from 2, and obviously great to see Rona Heatley centre back or number 6. That's where she's looking for, and definitely if we can get her in that 6 role and get her up to speed, might just give Cooney Cross a little bit more space. But I know Joe is a big fan of Winona, and I think she'll play a very pivotal part in these two friendlies coming up.
All right, and staying in Italy, some of our previous Matildas that haven't made this squad, but Jess Nash, she kept a clean sheet in a 1-0 win for Sassuolo's first win of the season. Alex Chidiac comes in at half-time for Como with Jacinta Galabatarachi, an unused sub for Sassuolo. So probably Jess Nash and Galabatarachi are the up-and-comers that have just missed out on this squad. Chidiac seems to have been a little bit in and out over previous years, but yeah, it's probably Nash and Galabatarachi that can count themselves a bit unlucky. Plenty of people thinking that Nash should have been in that mix.
Yeah, look, she's just got to go back and keep playing football, and she's doing a great job. She's still young, plenty of time, and she's been in the Matildas jersey before. So, again, Joe had to make some tough decisions. But if you look at a couple of, Brighton's defender as well, it's tough, isn't it? The competition's really fierce.
Absolutely. All right, in Germany, first start at 90 minutes for Hayley Rasso for her club as they won 1-0 in the Europa Cup to progress to the round of 16 where they'll face PSV Eindhoven. So Rasso is back in the Matildas squad in line to make her 100th cap. Is that right? And
100 cap.
also,
100%.
yeah. And also Jamila Rankin in that team, in the Matildas team as well. She got 14 minutes off the bench in her side's 1-0 win in Germany. Tegan Micah also got her first start for Lyon in their 3-0 win in the Women's Champions League. She made 4 saves and 10 recoveries. So be interesting to see what the selection is for between Micah and Arnold. Jada Wyman's been ruled out of the squad, unfortunately, but you'd think it's a head-to-head battle between Micah and Arnold for that number 1 spot.
Yeah, we're a bit worried about Micah. She hasn't played, all season, and she just made the move a little bit late. Maybe that was the reason, but good to see her get selected in the Champions League squad. Wasn't in the league squad, though, overnight. Over Nantes, they did win 6-1. She was back on the bench. So they're an interesting scenario there at Lyon, Micah, but obviously they've still got confidence in her putting her in the Champions League squad.
Yep, and a couple of other Matildas playing in the Champions League during the week. Sam Kerr got 35 minutes, so that's the most minutes that she's had since her return. Ellie Carpenter isn't included in the matchday squad, but she's been having plenty of football, so not concerned about Ellie. They won their game 4-0 over Paris FC, so hopefully we get to see Sam Kerr gets some significant minutes across these 2 legs in the Matildas games, but encouraging that she obviously got through 35 minutes. Even saw something during the week that probably Sam thinks she's capable of doing a bit more, but it's the Chelsea staff holding her back.
Well, it's 2 years, it's been a long time. Players just want to play, don't they? But just one step at a time. We need you for the Asia Cup, Kerr. Come on. There's plenty of football. Chelsea and plenty of competitions. You'll get plenty of game time.
Yeah, that's true. very pleasing to see Kyra Cooney-Cross making a rare start for Arsenal in their 2-0 Champions League win over Benfica. Watched a bit of this one. She was reasonably solid during the game. She was withdrawn at the 60-minute mark. She was very busy. A couple of times the Arsenal had the opportunity to play through her, but I just love the way she picks up the ball and looks to play forward. She's very like that, and always looking to either turn and play forward or pick a pass. So, probably in a team there in Arsenal at the moment that's performing pretty well. They've had a few stumbles, but tough team to crack. But pleasing to see Cooney Cross get some minutes. And then Catley started, taken off late. Caitlin Ford got 20 minutes off the bench. So you'd expect our 3 Arsenal players to have a big influence this window.
Yeah, absolutely. And it'll be probably the first time Joe can put them all together. We didn't have that opportunity, when the handover was there in those last friendlies, because it was a bit of a mixed team with Joe obviously testing out more of our depth in those games. But yeah, it'll be great to see probably put the first 11 that he's probably looking for the Asia Cup together for the probably first time under Joe's reign.
Yep, and then a good result for Courtney Nevin. She scored the opening goal in Malmo's 4-1 win, which has them just 1 point behind first in Sweden. The leaders do have a game in hand, but Malmo is certainly putting the pressure on them, and Nevin obviously playing plenty of minutes, and nice to see her pop up with the goal as well.
Yeah, absolutely. She's been in red hot form and had a great season, and it's been rewarded again. And where you can catch the Matildas, so the Matildas' first game is on Sunday night at midnight. It's their first game against Wales away. Wales, not the strongest side, but it'll be a really good hit out before the big one on Wednesday when we play England. What a super game that's going to be at Pride Park Stadium at 6 a.m. So a very friendly time on Wednesday morning at 6 a.m. Pride Park. The Matildas go up against England. That'll be a fiery contest, won't it, for just a friendly? The girls will be out to impress. Obviously, a lot of those girls play against each other week in, week out as well.
Yeah, and obviously England knocked us out of the semi-finals of the World Cup, so not that this will be any kind of consolation for that, but yeah, probably more so, as you said, the fact that they come up against each other, plenty of probably teammates coming up against each other as well. So yeah, it should be a nice clash, and England, one of the best teams in the world, so we'll definitely get a gauge of where we're at heading into this Asian Cup.
Yeah, great. Derby County is Pride Park, and capacity is 33,597. I reckon they probably fill that up. So it's going to be a cracking atmosphere, and yeah, good hit out against Wales as well. And yeah, looking forward to the Matildas being back as they prepare for their Asia Cup, which starts March 1st.
All right, that's going to do us for part 2. Part 3, we're going to look at the A-League, which kicked off this weekend, and also touch on the Australian Championship. Thanks for listening to the Aussie Game Podcast. If you enjoy our content, we'd really appreciate you giving us a rating or a review on your preferred podcast platform. And if you do know of any Australian football fans that might enjoy it as well, sharing the podcast would mean a lot to us. All right, let's get back to the show. Okay, we're back for part 3. We're going to talk A-League and the Australian Championship in this section. And just in case anyone forgot how crazy and bonkers and mind-boggling and unpredictable the A-League is, round 1 gave us a little bit of everything, and it's just welcome back to all the fans because it was absolutely all over the place.
Oh, Chief, do you remember the date, the 14th of June 2022?
I don't know.
A new Wiggle was born, Andrew Redmayne. And can you believe it? It was like deja vu today. What a game that was. The young Central Coast Mariners, 23.1 years average is there. You take the Wiggle out, it could be younger. What a game that was. Oh, I can't wait to crack on into the A-League. And the Australian Championship, again, continues to surpass. What a fantastic tournament this one's turning out to be. So, oh, wow, let's break it down. And we did our preview last week, and wow, we fought Generation 2.0 Adelaide. Well, it was like 3.0. It was insane. What about the football and the kickoff on Friday night and the crowd?
I think everyone's looking at their preseason predictions and having some second thoughts, but that's just what this league throws up all the time. Let's start with that game on Friday night at Cooper Stadium. As you said, great crowd, 11,000 odd out there at Hindmarsh, and pretty entertaining game. Really, the my note on this one is the scoreline absolutely flattered Sydney. It was a 2-1 win to Adelaide in the end because I thought Sydney FC were really poor and very worrying sign for the very first game of the season that they seem to lack intensity and maybe even fitness. Everything good they did seemed to come through Joe Lolly, which again considering that he wanted to move away from the club, to move to Perth in the off season, and they've brought in all these recruits, but still everything goes through Joe Lolly. So yeah, very concerning for Sydney FC. Let's talk though about Adelaide because they are absolutely amazing. Ethan Alagich in particular in that midfield, he popped up for the winner. And yeah, he said post game as well that he's had their new manager Ayrton Andrioli. He's new to the Adelaide United first team, but he's had him as a coach since he was 12 or 13. So, given the production factory that Adelaide United is and Football South Australia, I do wonder how many of those other players have had a similar experience with Andrioli. And Alagich even said post match that he finds playing under him really easy because he knows what to expect. So maybe we shouldn't be surprised that even though it is a new manager, that so many of these players are adapting so quickly.
Oh, wasn't it great football to watch by the young boys? Just the mentality and enthusiasm was unbelievable. And you talk about young Ethan. He played 56 games for Adelaide in the NPL in their second side, and 57 matches for Adelaide United. And he's been capped at under 23 level 6 times for 3 goals. So a defensive midfielder, but a good goal scorer. And geez, he showed maturity beyond his years. 21 years of age, another talent that the A League just presents. And we talked about the Socceroos and how many Adelaide players have come from there and the under 20s. It was great to see a lot of those boys come back as well. And they just like they'd played for 10, 15 years. You're right. It was just beautiful football to watch. And gee, they moved the ball well and yeah, all on the same page. And that was the difference. Forget about individual ability that Sydney had. Adelaide just had the continuity. And like you said, that their coach has fitted in seamlessly. And once again, the Adelaide production line just continues at 2.0 and 3.0.
Yeah, I do remember looking at the lineup, at the age profile before the match, and I think it was Smits in goals, Vreens at the back, Kiddo at left back, and Craig Goodwin over 30, and all the rest of them were about 23 and under. So, but a wealth of experience as well. I mean, you speak about Alagic, and he's been playing in that system for a couple of years. Even like look at like Ivanovic, and there's players in that Adelaide side that have actually been getting some experience over years. So we shouldn't be that shocked with them playing well. But I didn't have them as low down as some others did in their predictions. But watching them on Friday night, I was very impressed. But one thing I do want to note to you, mate, is that Adelaide United started last season with 8 matches unbeaten, but also went 8 without a win through February in April. So I did say in the preview they usually start well but can't keep it up. So this is a really good start and let's take it for what it is. But this is about consistency. It's all good to have that youthful exuberance at the start of the season, but it's how they perform when things start getting tough. So let's reward them for now. But yeah, the time will tell as they edge their way through the season and can they get themselves through the tough parts. But they should be celebrated for their performance on Friday night.
Oh, absolutely, and great. The home crowd, 11,000 plus, super turnout there. As I said in the preview as well, the average crowd's always been one of the best, and great atmosphere, and they were well rewarded on Friday night. And huge pressure chief on Sydney FC, who got the Mariners next. Another young, up and coming, exciting team, but the continuity just doesn't look right. The individual ability does, but just not things just aren't clicking with Sydney FC, and they've got some challenges to come up, and it's going to be a very tough start to Sydney FC if they can't get up this weekend against the Central Coast.
Yeah, it does take some time for foreigners to start in. This is probably any league anywhere around the world, but their foreigners or their biggest signings certainly didn't impress all that much. And yeah, some of those combinations in the midfield didn't work particularly well. Yeah, they just got picked apart by Adelaide, and as I said in the intro, probably the most concerning thing if you're a Sydney FC fan is the fact that they just didn't look up for it. So yeah, you think first home game of the season, or first game, sorry, of the season, that you'd be looking to put down a marker, but yeah, they were just off it, and yeah, it's actually a massive game coming up against the Mariners next week because all of a sudden, if they don't get a result out of that one, the pressure is going to pile on because we do know they've got a few tougher fixtures coming up after those ones.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree. But they've got to let's see how they rebound and respond because their fans will demand it, and so they should because they've got a lot of talent on that field. But again, things with continuity just ain't clicking, and pressure's been on since pre-season on Sydney FC, and always high expectations after missing the finals last year.
Definitely, mate. Let's go to the second game on Friday night. Brisbane Roar beat Macarthur 1-0. It was a Jay O'Shea penalty on the back of a Luke Bratton handball. Dimitri Valkanis, obviously son of Michael Valkanis, who was a surprise starter. In my mind, I thought Lucas Harrington would have been starting, but Valkanis got the nod there. He was sent off in the 59th minute, meaning Brisbane first, they went to a 4-3-2, which I thought was quite brave. They left their two strikers on the field, but ended the game with a more conservative 5-3-1 for the last 10 minutes or so. It was a very intense and physical game. It was 6 years since the Raw have won on the opening day, 14 years since they've won at home in round one, and over 3 years since they've beaten Macarthur. So those stats just show what a tough time it's been for Brisbane Roar and their fans. But certainly there's a lot of steel about what Michael Valkanis is bringing to that squad. And they were just so emotional post match, even though it's round one. But they knew how important that was to get a win to start the season.
Oh, and they played like it. They talked themselves up that they'd made the change and were very enthusiastic in pre-season. They've had some good wins in pre-season as well, and yeah, their mentality was fantastic. And they, like you said, they were right up for it. I was very disappointed in Macarthur. I expected their football to be much better, especially even the way they gave away that penalty. They just weren't sharp enough, and I was surprised because they've had Asian Champions League couple of games, and they got through the Han Cup as well. They had a longer run than Brisbane, but yeah, they just didn't click at all. I wasn't impressed at all by Macarthur, and I had them very high on my expectations this year. But again, Brisbane just showed the right mentality, and it's so glad for those fans up there. They've suffered for so long, and what a great reward for their home fans. And it's hard, isn't it? The big stadium there, and that they're all in these little pockets, but they certainly made their voice very clear, and I think it made such a massive difference, especially when it went down to 10 men. And just the will and the want won that game. Let me tell you, because the mentality was so much better from Brisbane.
Yeah, that is a really hard thing about that stadium, and as you said, there are fans on the camera side of the ground, but when you see the empty opposite side of the stand, one thing I have seen though, a lot of people saying the Den, Brisbane's active support was the biggest and the loudest it's been in years. So
That was fantastic. Yeah, good on them.
yeah, it's a really positive sign. Yeah, they've suffered a lot, and it's going to take time. Volcanis has said the importance of getting into the community and making them feel a part and getting them on the journey. So it's all positive steps so far for Brisbane Roar, and let's hope it can continue for them.
Yeah, and after Friday's games, I thought Saturday's football was the highlight of them all. You could really see a difference in the calibre on Saturday's games with the Wanderers and Melbourne City and Melbourne Victory and Auckland. Let's look at the Wanderers and City first. High calibre game, this one. Wanderers opened the scoring through Costa Barbarouses after coming over from Wellington last year, poking the home from close range before a beautiful ball in behind from City's Andreas Kern finds Max Caputo. Chiefs Golden Boot pick for the year. Bang, straight off the mark. Who lobbed beautiful lob to Lawrence Thomas to make it 1-1. He was looking good there, Max Caputo. What a great start for the young man. And both teams had chances to win the game, but neither side could find a winner. But I thought the football here was another level above, and you could see both sides have got a lot of depth and a lot of talent on their books, and they'll be right up there at in the top 4, top 6 this year, Wanderers and City. And I tip Wanderers just to be outside, but they look pretty sharp, and City looked well organised as well, and they've got a few players to come back as well. So I think it's an exciting year for both fans.
Yeah, Angus Thurgate really looked good in that Wanderers midfield, really made them tick. So I think that's probably close to the signing of the season, bringing him in. So yeah, potentially the Wanderers are going to be a bit higher. Only one game. I don't want to jump to too many assumptions, but yeah, as you said, both teams had the chance to go on and find a winner, but neither could do so. Then we go to the second game on Saturday. This was the big rematch of the semi-final from last season. So massive battle between two good teams. I thought there was some times in the game where their connections were a little bit off, but you can just see there's going to be some quality shown from both these teams throughout the season. It was a really good matchup. Ended up finishing in a 0-0 draw between Victory and Auckland. Your pick for the Johnny Warren medal, Denny Johnroe, he looks very good for Victory. He was awarded the Paramount Player of the Match. But yeah, he looked very positive in the Victory lineup, and even was asked about the Socceroos' potential going to the World Cup post game, and he said, it's a World Cup year, so why not? So that's on his radar as well. But yeah, both teams were very good in this one.
Yeah, generally quality player. It stood up, and he's going to need to for Victory. They're going to need that kind of style and leadership through the middle of the park and just behind the strikers there, and real quality football game. Yeah, Auckland's super well organised. I thought Jesse Randall was very wasteful. Probably should have scored a couple of times, but Victory also too showed their sharpness as well. Both teams having great opportunities in this, but couldn't break each other down, but not through lack of opportunities. And the football was really good in this, and so many young Australians on display that you've picked out, especially from the Victory and Auckland as well. Victory, Josh Insera, 20. We've seen him at the World Cup. Esposito, he looked, like centre commander, didn't he? And they've got a couple of players to come back, so he's got some competition there. He's only 20. Xavier Stella had a great game. He's only 19. Jordi Valdon, 22. Keegan Jelicic, 23. Matt Grimaldi, come on. He was 21. He looked bright when he come on. Jing Reese, 22. And then on the Auckland side, we've seen Jack Erdwood race 21, Marley Francis 22, and Lockie Brook 24. I can't believe Corica took him off. He was looking so good, put in quality ball, and I thought once he took him off, it took the onus off the game and put in Victory's palm. I was very surprised at that move, and I'm pretty sure Lockie Brook was too by his reaction on the.
He looked surprised, didn't he?
Yeah, I can't believe he took him off. He was carving him up down the right hand side. I just couldn't believe it. But and he's playing him very wide. So interesting move by Steve Corica. But geez, Auckland look very well organised with the ball and without it, don't they? And very tough nut to break down that Victory found out. But both teams put on a great performance, and the show was very worthy of a good performance from both.
Yeah, both keepers played really well as well. Particularly Jack Duncan made some outstanding saves. So, yeah, I think both of those teams, even when you get through their defence, their keepers are going to stand up, but they're going to be tough to break down throughout the season. Two teams that might not be so hard to break down throughout the season came up next, and we were watching this one, and it looked, to be honest, early going, it looked like Perth by how much, because Jaden Kucharski and Adam Taggart and even Despotovsky on that left, Lockie Wales chipping in as well. They were absolutely tearing Wellington apart in that first maybe 20 minutes or so. And yeah, it just looked like that they were absolutely going to run away with it. And then, yeah, just not sure what happened when they were with Perth. They just kind of fell away. Wellington got back into the match. Very nicely well taken goal by their new signing Afenia Eze just on the stroke of half time. And then Carlo Armiento added a second to somehow get the Wellington Phoenix to draw. But I certainly didn't see that result coming after we watched the first 20 or 30 minutes or so.
Yes, we were madly texting each other saying this could be a bit of a bloodbath. Perth was just unbelievable in that first half an hour. They were playing great football. That front line looked very dangerous, and they had some depth on the bench too, front. But they just went missing. I don't know whether it was just a shock that Wellington scored and just made them nervous. But yeah, it was a complete turnaround, wasn't it? And credit to Wellington because I thought they were awful in the first half an hour. That they even got back into the game, and then obviously Nick won for a draw, and then both teams had opportunities, but yeah, wasn't the prettiest game. It was a bit all over the place, wasn't it? Just, but yeah, two teams. I don't know who would be the happier with the draw because Perth would be extremely disappointed how
I
they
have to
finished
say
out that
Wellington.
game.
Have to say Wellington.
Yeah, they got on top at the end, didn't they? And just Perth didn't know what to do. And yeah, maybe yeah, that was a hard one to read and a hard one to watch. It was just going all over the place that game. But anyway, I suppose that's why they both finished down the bottom last year. And they some moments were great, but some moments showed that there's still got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, well, we both tipped them to struggle this season, and it might not be until they come up against some of the better teams in the competition that we'll really find out where they're at. But yeah, it was quite a shocking result based on what happened early in the game. What about the keeper crisis there at Perth as well? Obviously,
Oh,
Matt Sutton signed during the week because of Mark Birigitti's injury, and then Cameron Cook goes down in the warm up, meaning Matt Sutton gets thrown in goals. 3 days after he signed? So, welcome to your new teammates and introduce finding out each other's names on the field potentially.
yeah, it was just
um,
that type of game, wasn't it? Just crazy. Anyway. But anyway, at least he got on and yeah, bang straight into it, into the firing line. But yeah, look, both teams have got some work to do when the distance derby as they call it, and yeah, even spoils. All right,
yeah.
Chief, I did tell you about what happened the 14th of June 2022. Do you remember?
I do now. I do now.
Yeah, the old Wiggle saved the penalty against Peru, and I'll tell you what, it was on show again. What a final few minutes, and what a game! Mariners beat Jets 3-2. What do you say about this game? It was incredible. It was absolutely incredible.
It was so fitting of an F3 derby, and normally, even if it's a big scoreline to one team, normally there's plenty happening in this contest. It was a slow start for the Mariners, and saw the Jets open the scoring. An absolutely cracking strike from our AFC Young Player of the Year, Alex Badalado. Congratulations to Alex for receiving that award during the week. And Newcastle were well on top. They looked like they were going to go on with it. And then all of a sudden, something switched, and Lucas Moragas down that left was starting to cause all kinds of trouble. And then Sabit Nyor down the right as well. He was causing trouble too. But Moragas was brought down by Max Burgess to concede a penalty, which was converted by Alfie McCalmont. And then 2 minutes later, Miguel De Pizio, who I thought was amazing throughout this game,
Oh, mate.
he was so creative, but his work rate was great, and he just provided so much energy. He's a welcome return for the Mariners. He was
Played for the
fantastic today.
Joeys too, Chief, and
Yeah,
for the under-20s too. So obviously on the radar. And Central Coast, they just once again they just pull another player out that's just in that kind of pathway, aren't they?
yeah.
Unbelievable.
He's been great. He's just had a few injuries over the last couple of years, but he did know that he did get taken off around the 70-minute mark. Obviously Warren Moon, their new manager or interim manager, just probably trying to ease him back into it. But he was absolutely fantastic. But anyway, he scored the goal to put them in the lead for the Mariners after a turnover from some pressure, and they took that lead into half time. So all of a sudden, we're thinking, oh, is an upset on the cards here? Absolutely crazy. So yeah, it was the Mariners fans are up for it. They've been completely written off. Everyone was talking about the Jets, and here they are, 2-1 up at halftime.
Oh, just it just gets better. Second half, Chief, talk us through.
Yeah, well, in the second half, it was pretty even. Both teams had some chances. The Mariners probably had the better of the chances, but couldn't quite put the game away. And then Lockie Rose, he pops up. I think the Haras had a chance to put them up 3-1 just before this, but Lockie Rose benefited on the back of Eli Adams, kind of bundling his way through, pounced on the ball, 2-2. Yeah, both teams had some chances to win. But then that meant, again, Christian Theoharis gave away a penalty in stoppage time. And then the teal wiggle, no longer the grey wiggle, I think it was Harps labelled him the teal wiggle, saved Eli Adams' penalty. And then almost from the next attack, the Mariners go down the other end of the field and battle their way to a goal. Christian Theoharis popped up again, threw in a challenge to kind of knock the ball forward, and then it was Nicholas Duarte who popped up to score the winner for the Mariners, 3-2. And like, absolutely unbelievable game. Warren Moon's been there about 3 days since he was announced as interim manager. But when you think of like the fact that all this chaos that's happened, you look at that good young squad, and it's probably similar argument to what I was talking about with Adelaide, that youthful exuberance, how long will it last? But they're a solid group, that young group. They will make their mistakes throughout the season, as all young players do. But for the moment, they're riding that wave of excitement, and yeah, credit to them for getting through all that adversity and getting that win today, because it was absolutely amazing.
Oh, it was like Rocky Balboa, mate. Off the canvas, absolutely sensational. Yeah, you just everything was against them, like you said, and Newcastle on a high. The Hahn Cup winners, that everyone's just going bang. Newcastle should smash them, and the football gods, and why we love football so much. Just the want and the will. It was just had a bit of everything, and what a reward for a very, you know, the poor Mariners have been through hell and back, and what a great reward for the Mariners getting that win and for their fans. And they were ecstatic at the end. The poor Newcastle fans down the other side, they were furious. But oh, that's why we love it. Yeah, but Newcastle fans, I think you got enough in the tank and you're playing good football to do something. You're just bit off the game today. Structurally, I thought they just transitioned defensively poorly. They were too open, and Central Coast Mariners played through them too easy, and I don't think mentally Newcastle took that derby high enough, and Central Coast certainly did, and made the most of their opportunities and put them away in 3-2. And wow, Milligan must be fuming tonight, but they'll bounce back. And Mariners, just a goodwill story for football after all the negativity that they've had.
Absolutely, mate, and well done to the Newcastle fans who made the trip down the road to Gosford. They're in plenty of good numbers, supporting their team as well. So the Jets are next going to take on Melbourne Victory, which is a massive game for them, which will be at Newcastle. Other fixtures throughout the weekend. So Auckland are going to host Western Sydney Wanderers, which should be an absolute cracker game. Melbourne City are going to host Perth, so we'll see where Perth's at, see if they can go up against the champions. Sydney FC Central Coast is absolutely huge. That one's going to be in Sydney. We'll see if the Central Coast Mariners can show a bit of what they had today, and we'll see if Sydney can pick up their performance that they put out against Adelaide over the weekend just gone. Wellington Phoenix hosts Brisbane Roar, so again, interesting to see how Giancarlo Italiano's team travels back, and then how Michael Valkanis' team respond as well. And then MacArthur versus Adelaide. So, yeah, that's Monday Night Football in MacArthur, something they tried a bit last year and had a bit of success. So good to see that return next weekend.
No disparity in the A-League on the weekend, and every game was competitive, and super spirit shown by all. And there's definitely a lot of talent on show. So can't wait for week 2 to bounce back. That was a great start to the A-League season.
Totally agree, mate. Good to have it back for sure. Let's talk about the Australian Championship. Into the second week of that competition. We're going to go through this group by group. First, Group A, Broadmeadow Magic. They beat Sydney Olympic today 3-2. Two sides played out a 5-goal thriller with Broadmeadow Magic causing a big upset. Some nice goals in that one, but certainly didn't see that result coming. And Sydney Olympic was struggling in this group now. The other game in this group, South Melbourne, they beat Moreton City Excelsior 2-0. South too good for Moreton City. Despite having a man sent off, Manuleka Gek scored a double for the home side. So looking at the standings at this early point in Group A, South Melbourne with the perfect record with 2 wins from 2 on 6 points. Broadmeadow Magic with that win today. That's their first win of the season. And then Moreton City Excelsior with 1 win as well. Sydney Olympic rooted to the bottom of that group. So I think in this third round, some big fixtures across the Australian Championship, and we'll see where teams are at after this weekend's round. All right, Group B, let's go to that one. 2 games, obviously, in this group. First game of the day, Marconi thrashed South Hobart 4-0. The headline from this one was the Australian Championship's first ever hat-trick, which went to Damien Sekenis of Marconi. So South Hobart probably struggling a little bit after being undone 3-1 by the Wolves last weekend. And then on the back of this 4-0 result in this one, they doesn't get any easier for South Hobart coming up against Heidelberg next week. The second game, we had the fortune of actually going to this one. The Wollongong Wolves unfortunately lost 3-0 to Heidelberg from a personal perspective. The Wolves really dominated the first 15, had 3 or 4 good chances to score, but couldn't put them away, and then got punished because Heidelberg went up the other end. Scrappy opener, bundled home by Jamal Ali before second half goals to Anthony Leotis and Angus Taylor as well. I just wanted to point out, Mopper, that it was a game, as I said, I was fortunate to go to. Great community vibes in Wollongong, just over 3,000 there in attendance, heaps for the kids to do, halftime wolf chase. I think everyone's experiencing this all throughout the Australian Championship, or at least I hope they are, and it's what makes these competitions so great.
Yeah, you can see it in the communities. We reported last week how many clubs are out in the community, and getting great coverage across, and they're doing their communities so good. The big question for me is, Chief, did you catch the wolf, or were you too slow?
I wasn't allowed. It was 12 and under for the wolf chase, so I
You didn't make the cut.
just didn't make the criteria for it. But no, the kids had a great time.
It's a great thing, isn't it? Kids love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kids love it, and that's what it's all about. And well done to all Australian Championship clubs. I think they're taking this competition to another level, and not only what they're doing on the field, but definitely off the field is having a great impact. And you can see those 3,000 or 4,000 crowds on average all the time. So it's great to see, and nice little stadiums, and it's good to see in the community. So great stuff. And the table, Heidelberg remain undefeated on 6 points. Marconi and Wollongong on 3 each, but Marconi with a bit of goal difference, and South Hobart obviously on 0. Got a bit of work to do. We go over to Group C now. Canberra, Croatia defeat Preston Lions 3-2. Canberra come from behind twice to get all 3 points today. Northwestern Spirit drew 3-3 with Avondale. So Avondale, one of the big ones that we've seen in the semi-final of the Hahn Cup. Spirit but Spirit obviously won the state league for New South Wales, so a bit of a powerhouse there. The 2 league winners from New South Wales and Victoria. Spirit come down from 2-0 down as well to lead 3-2 until the 90-plus 7th minute when Amir Adair scored the equaliser for Avondale. So
they almost had it, mate. They almost had it.
Oh,
3-2. They were up. And then, Abdallah scored that late one. So that would have been a huge win for Northwest Sydney, but couldn't quite get across the line. So your pick, Avondale, looking a bit shaky, mate.
Oh, they're still top of the table. It's a good group, isn't it? That group: Avondale, Canberra, Northwest Sydney, and Preston Lions. So Avondale on top on 4 points, Canberra on 3, Northwest Sydney on 2, and with the Spirit and Preston Lions on 1. So still plenty of play for in that group, and we're seeing all games are super competitive in that one. So well done to all Group C. Group D, well, we're probably seeing the emergence of a powerhouse here. RPA Leichhardt beat Sydney United 4-0. Gee, they look good. First bumping of the Australian Championship, this one was stated, and RPA Leichhardt with a statement win. Sydney United, who missed a stoppage time penalty as well, already under pressure in this group. In the other game, Bayswater City, I thought Metro Stars would be one up there as well, but Bayswater City, well done with a 1-0 win today. Their first win in the Australian Championship as they scrambled the ball home in the 55th minute to score the only goal of the game and puts the table and with West RPA on 6 points, Bayswater on 4, who play each other next week, Sydney United on 1, and Metro Stars on 0. So I thought the Metro Stars need some improvement, but I definitely think they've got the quality to do so. But looks like another good group in Group D.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Yeah, plenty to play for in the Australian Championship. Yeah, this third week is going to be very crucial for a few teams to see whether they're still in the mix to qualify for those quarterfinals or whether they start to fall right behind. So, very exciting weekend coming up, and yeah, we encourage everyone to get out and support the Australian Championship and the A Leagues because yeah, both competitions are very exciting, and yeah, we hope you support your local clubs. Let's touch on the Junior Matildas, mate. They qualified for the Under 17 Women's Asian Cup, which is going to be held in China next year. They had a couple of qualifiers during the week, very lopsided wins, 22-0 win over Northern Mariana Islands, and then a 10-0 win over Singapore. So congratulations to those under 17 women's team who are going to play in the Asian Cup next year.
Yeah, there's a lot of exciting talent in there. I can't wait to see them in the Asia Cup against some higher nations to see how they progress. There's a lot of potential there, a lot of good young girls coming through the system, so a lot to look forward to.
All right, mate, that's going to be a wrap for us. Another big week coming up. There's plenty of players in action as we record this on Sunday night as well. And then obviously the Matildas playing their first game against Wales next weekend. So plenty to look forward to Australian football fans. We'll potentially even have an announcement on the fixtures for the Socceroos in that November window during the week.
Yeah, what a week ahead, David. Matilda's on the weekend, Premier League, and lots of more games tonight. Yeah, it's full on again, and the women's international takes over on the weekend. So lots to look forward to. And thanks for chatting with that, and thanks for all the fan reaction and for all the viewers. There's been great feedback all throughout the week in what's been a massive week for Australian football.
Thanks for everyone for listening to the Aussie Game Podcast. We'll be back same time next week. In the meantime, enjoy your football.